Or did you say?
Not available.
Can you say
Yeah.
something again? Oh,
Okay, is the recording started?
Yep.
yeah, I started
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. One of the big things is, focusing on the issues themselves and keep things from getting too personal at all. Because different individuals may have different perspectives, different ways of expressing things, and just make sure that you are focusing on the issues. All right. Now, this is a model of conflict. It goes all the way from the point where there's a problem to solve, all the way up to if things do not get resolved, where you get to an intractable situation where people are not working together at all. They've got a lot of conflict. It may be boiling below the surface, and you as a project manager may have enough problems on your hands so that the project may be in deep danger. Okay. What you want to, where you want to keep this is identification of the problem to solve, and if there's any disagreement, working with the team and the team working together in order to solve the conflict. And what you don't want to do is get above here. Okay, you don't want it to be a contest. You don't want people to be taking sides and not going for a commonly agreeable resolution to it. Fight flight, you're really losing people because they're either tuning everything out or they're so adamantly behind a solution or whatever the conflict is that you've got people who are going to be taking the time, a lot of time, fighting rather than working on the project itself. Okay. Now, these are a list of interpersonal skills that can be used to manage conflict, all the way from emotional intelligence, influencing leadership, decision making, active listening. To me, having been an agile coach for a number of years, the active listening is the first approach that I take. Not that I would take, that I do take. Trying to understand what the conflict is, trying to understand what each of the parties, why that conflict, why do they feel that there's a conflict, okay? And what you want to be able to do, based on everything we've talked about, excuse me, had a pop up there. Okay, is to keep it professional. Okay. If the situation is deteriorated or any of these things listed here occurs, you've got a big job on your hands. You need to work to ratchet things back to where the conflict itself is identified and work with the team, come up with a way to move forward on it. Okay. Now, depending on the maturity of the team, now offering a solution to move the situation forward, if it's a brand new team, it may be a way to go. If you've got a performing team, what you want to be able to do is coach them so that they come up with the solution to move the situation forward, because then they buy into it because they've determined what the solution needs to be. You're going to be using influencing all over the place. Because even if you've used a lot of active listening, you've got to understand what the conflict is. And as I keep saying, work with everyone involved in the conflict so that their ideas are considered, and then the team moves forward with a solution that's acceptable. There's several different approaches listed here on how to manage conflict. So they use the term smooth or accommodate, and the text on the right-hand side, emphasizing areas of agreement, working with them, working with the people who are having the conflict to take a step back to understand why each of the parties is thinking along the lines that they are, and see how they can work out something that's mutually agreeable. Withdrawal or avoid an issue, it's going to cause you problems going forward unless you do it in a very structured manner. Okay. Issues may be able to be postponed, but you've got to understand what's going on with the team dynamics. Excuse me. Okay. So kicking the can down the road may be the worst thing that you can do. Okay. If there's a lot simmering under the surface, do your best to get the issue resolved as quickly as you can. Now, you're always going to, well, unless someone is very persuasive and convinces everyone involved with this conflict in the way to go, you're always going to have to come up with a compromise. Okay. This is what you'll be doing 99% of the time. Okay. Boy, if you try to force your viewpoint, on the entire team, you're not honoring why the other team members feel the way that they do about that issue. Okay, so it can either work to keep the team moving forward, or it could cause even more conflicts within the team. So be very careful if you feel that this is the only way to go. And if you've got a mentor, when it gets to this point, uh, that's when you talk to other people in your PMO. If, as I said, if you have a mentor, make sure that this is the only way that you're going to be able to move forward with the project. The best thing that you can do is get the people together, talk things through. I mean, this is the same thing that we did when we were doing planning poker. When we talked about that, where um, all of the uh, perspectives are evaluated. People ask questions about it. We have a psychologically safe environment so that everyone realizes that they can address whatever issue they need to. Okay. If you've got a mature team, this is the, in my humble opinion, this is the best way to go. Now, one of the methods that can be used is called the 5 whys method. You start out with identifying the issue itself, then examining the various inputs that may have caused the issue to surface, and you go 5 layers deep to find the in an attempt to find the root cause. One of the tools that's used in 5 whys method is called either a fishbone diagram or an Ishikawa diagram. That's who came up with the concept of using 5 whys. And what it looks like, I mean, you usually draw a head of a fish on there, and then you've got 5 contributing factors that you come up with. So they are the represent the bones coming out of the spine of the fish. That this is one thing that you'll want to understand pretty completely. So I'd suggest if you do some searching, especially on the web, you can find a lot of information about 5 whys. And that's it for lesson 4. Questions? No? Okay. We're
How do you
going
deal?
to go ahead.
I was going to ask, how do you deal with strong personalities?
It's a really good question. You need to remind people that no matter what they feel so strongly about, that overall that the project is what needs to be accomplished. Hey, it may take a lot of your conflict resolution skills to be able to work with one or more strong personalities in the team. That's why when you're putting the team together too, you want to be able to form a team that gets along with each other. Okay. Um, and if you do have strong personalities, you've got to keep your fingers on the team to see if there are any conflicts. Try and head things off before they become they get to the point where you've got a really big conflict going on. Is that does that help any?
Yeah, that helps.
Okay. We're going to try to have some fun here. We're going to try sharing the entire screen. All right. Can you see the support project team performance? Lesson 5?
Yep.
Okay, great. So we're going to be covering 5 topics in here: implementing ongoing improvements, supporting performance, evaluating project progress, managing issues and impediments, and managing changes. So the learning objectives for the overall lesson: to be able to explain the various methods for implementing improvement, explain the various methods for performance measurement, compare those methods with the focus on communication and accountability, identify the methods for improving a project, the issues and impediments that arise during a project, and describe the methods for implementing changes during a project. We're going to start out with implementing ongoing improvements. Anyone heard of Kaizen before? Okay. It's a method of improving a product, taking small steps at a time, taking feedback from the team and the customers, and implementing small changes that make the product itself stronger and more desirable to customers. If there's anything asked on the test, remember that PMI says, typically implemented by an organization's PMO and or a structured learning approach or continuous improvement framework such as Agile or Six Sigma. Okay. Why would you say that Kaizen could be implemented by an Agile team?
Because they're small incremental improvements.
Yep. Yep, definitely. And how often does an Agile team take a look at how they can improve things?
2 to 3 weeks. No.
Mm-hmm. If you get a question on that, look for the answer of every increment. Okay. 2 to 3 weeks is generally the industry standard for an increment. That's chosen by the team or maybe dictated at times too. All right, got a little video here. Let me know if you cannot hear it.
We cannot hear it.
You can't hear it?
No, not hearing it here.
Okay, could anyone hear this?
I can't hear it either.
No.
No.
I think you'll have to reshare, and while resharing, you can choose option of audio or something.
I did choose audio on that.
Oh, then we are still not able to hear.
Nope. We'll try and reshare. I'll also share tab audio. Okay. Share system audio. Make sure that's turned on. That and share it. All right. Same question. Let me know if you can hear it. Come on.
The lean approach to learning is very pragmatic.
Yes.
Lean teams are constantly doing small experiments and analyzing the results. If there's a measurable improvement, the small change is adopted and the team jumps into its next small experiment. This enables lean teams to make continuous small refinements to their processes, refinements that add up to noticeable improvements over time. The idea is to improve through a series of small changes, a strategy the lean community calls Kaizen, Japanese for improvement. It's usually represented like this. And while the idea is strong, most organizations need a step-by-step approach that will yield results. And that looks like this. Here's how it works. First, an organization identifies potential improvement. such as a new practice or strategy that they want to experiment with to see how well it works in their situation. Then they try it out. They implement the change. After a brief period, they'll assess whether the change has been effective. They'll measure it against clear outcomes. If the new way of working is effective, they adopt it. If it isn't, they abandon it, for now at least. But they're not done. At that point, they share what they've learned with others, other members of their team, and other teams throughout their organization. Then start the process over. It is continuous improvement after all.
Okay, one thing that they briefly mentioned in the video was measuring against clear outcomes. Okay, so you've got to establish clear metrics for each of the proposed changes that you have. Work through the process and be able to assess the outcome from that change. All right. So for predictive projects, some of the questions you need to ask are, is the lessons learned register up to date? Are you using the lessons learned register? Okay. Are you sharing it with other teams? Are you recording it so that teams that have similar projects in the future will be able to benefit by what you've learned? Let's look for what they give the definition for Lean Six Sigma. Okay. All right. One of the things that you need to do as a project manager is communicate and understand what each team member's background is. Okay. So do the team members know about Kaizen, Lean methods, crystal methods? Again, I've rarely, if ever, seen that in practice. It may be in some industries, used in some industries, but in the software development teams that I've worked with, I have not seen it used. Capability model, maturity model information. That is an improvement on the original SCI, Software Engineering Institute, capability maturity model, okay, which is a way to assess how mature an organization is in the processes that they use. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm having a few problems tonight. Okay, so I'll also, as a project manager, you want to check the process improvement plan what you created in the project management plan. Okay. What PMI says to do is to use the risk register to assess current continuous improvement measures. It includes how the team is prepared to act to address threats to project quality. So it can be a helpful way of assessing current continuous improvement measures. So remember what a risk register is?
Was it a document where we keep track of different decisions or
Okay, we talked about this a couple of, I think it was 2 weeks ago. Where we identify potential risks, for predictive projects and continually assess them, about identify what the impact will be and the probability of it occurring.
SWOT analysis?
SWOT can be used. Yeah. But a risk register is identification of potential risks up front in a predictive project. Okay, and then monitoring it continuously to see if there are changes or additional risks, or if some risks have been able to be either mitigated or addressed and they're no longer risks. Okay. And as a project manager, it's your responsibility to be able to do that. Now, here's your basic way of running a retrospective. Okay. You want to have a couple of topics that you can start with, okay, if necessary. And what you're looking at is identifying what went well and where improvements are needed. Okay. Anybody can add to either column, and add to both columns. You can put one thing down, you can put more than one thing down. Okay. Then you discuss each of the line items. Okay. So discuss where on-time completion was something that went well. How did we achieve that? Are there any ways that we could do better next time too? And then on the need to improve, go through each one of those also. Okay. Have the team go through the lists and identify the top 2 to 3 items that they feel that they can work on in the next iteration and feel that they can improve on. Okay. Naturally, any of the improvement items will be part of the backlog. That's managed by who's responsible for the backlog?
product owner?
Yep, absolutely. Okay. So the product owner prioritizes these improvement items that you come up with against everything else in the backlog. And if there's sufficiently high priority, and at least starting out, you're probably going to need to, you know, make the product owner aware of how these improvements, these small improvements, can help the team to deliver more value. Okay. And then you go through the entire cycle. Okay, you implement the changes, make sure that you have metrics on how to track everything with the improvements, and assess how that worked out. Yeah, it sounds redundant here, but improve your improvement methods. Okay. Some other things that you can do in predictive projects, doing experiments. Okay. A/B testing, is anyone familiar with that term? Okay. What you do is you have two focus groups. Okay. You have one small change implemented on a product, and as it says here, you have one independent variable. Okay, so you may have, you know, a very simple way. You may ask one of the focus groups to evaluate whether the color orange, should be, results in a more desirable looking product. The other focus group could be given something like a purple. Okay, that's, you keep one variable, okay, the color, and you have focus groups that give you feedback on which of your improvements sounds good to them. Okay. Pareto charts. Anybody ever work with these? No? Yeah.
I've heard of them in quality control, but I don't know what they are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think I've probably seen them. I've just never heard anybody call it a Pareto chart.
Okay. Pareto was the person who came up with the charting method. But what this really is, you'll also hear it referred to as the 80-20 rule, where 80% of the problems are caused by 20% of the code or the method of implementation. Okay. So what you want to be able to do is focus in on the relatively small number of classes that cause 80% of the issues. Okay. You can do some research on 80-20 rule or Pareto charts, and it's been consistent over time, where it's either a module of code, it could be a particular portion of a construction project. If you've got issues, if you've got defects, and you plot them out, okay, against the cause, you'll find that they fit into this 80-20 rule. Okay. So for an adaptive effort, what you're going to be doing is evaluating the way that you're producing the value every iteration. Okay. So with a short iteration such as 2 weeks, you have the ability to go in there and do some experimentation if you need to. Okay. Try a different method. See if that results in more value in a shorter time frame. Okay. If you find something that may be beneficial for the entire organization, yeah, escalate it. If you're using something like Scrum, you will have a regular meeting of Scrum Masters and product owners. So they are opportunities to share what you've learned with the other people who were involved with the project. Okay, and if you've got a great improvement result, it may be useful within the entire organization also. All right. Let's get some volunteers here to share what are improvement procedures in your organization. What types of methods do you use for continuous improvement?
We use retrospectives and lessons learned to pick up on what went well, what didn't, and we apply those for the next iteration.
Okay. Thank you. Someone else?
We also use lessons learned, but honestly, we don't really ever go back and do anything with them. So I'm not sure why we do it.
What types of projects do you work on?
I'm in center ops, so really it's all over the place.
Okay. Are they center ops? Do you use agile methods or are you more predictive?
I would say it's kind of a hybrid, mostly, I would say mostly waterfall.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. My experience with waterfall has been when you do lessons learned, it's usually at the end of the project and ends up being filed at the bottom of any of the artifacts that you keep. Okay. Thank you. Okay. One of the things that, I mean, there are a lot of great ideas that are out in the internet and in books where you can educate yourself in the newest methods that have come out uh, as far as continuous improvement. Now, if you're using adaptive methods, especially, uh, these are some old terms, but encouraging a fail fast mindset, meaning you want to try small experiments, see what works, what doesn't work, and you know, just keep trying. All right. So that failure is a learning opportunity. When you take a look at how human beings learn, they learn by failing. From the time, basically by the time, uh, one of the greatest demonstrations is if you've got a child who's starting to walk. Right? What do? How many times do they,
they fall off
end up?
a couple of steps?
Yeah, so they might be able to take a step, 2 steps, and they end up on their butt. Okay, do they quit? Well, if they quit, they're not going to be walking. Okay, so they're trying different things all the time. My nephew, when he was I guess it was about a year and a half, 2 years old, kept trying to get out of his crib and tried and tried and tried and finally succeeded. We lived across a field and a street from the in-laws there, and he ended up on our doorstep and rang the bell, but my wife couldn't see him because he was so short at the time. But he had succeeded in getting out of his crib, climbing down the uh, the deck and the back stairs, going across the field, going across the street, up to our door. Okay, all progress, all
It's a brave little
small
guy.
changes. Oh, yeah, he smart and determined. Those are the 2 words I'll use for him. Okay, we need to realize that again. We need to create the type of atmosphere at work that allows people to try different things, okay, and not punish them when they don't succeed the first time. Okay. Anybody give me a ballpark number on the number of filaments that Edison and his team tried out before they got a light bulb that was a working light bulb?
I think it was 100 something.
Oh, keep going. Another 2 orders of magnitude, somewhere around 10,000. Okay. When you're trying to change, when you're trying especially new technologies, if you're trying to make a unique product, now you've got to fail. Otherwise, you're the luckiest person who's ever lived. Okay. So trying different filament after different filament, yeah, you learn what doesn't work. But you then hone in on what does. Okay. So we need to have that same attitude at work, where we try things, if they don't work, we try something else. Yeah. So we want people to be more like little kids. And I apologize for not dragging this out until 7 o'clock.
We can just here and talk.
Okay. The one thing that I will put into the chat, so you don't, before I go, is a YouTube video. There's a guy on there. He's a 737 pilot in Europe. And what he does is he analyzes both disasters and potential disasters. And I was watching one the other day, and it really dealt with how the crew communicated with each other and how it can result in a disaster or potentially result in a disaster. So I'll look it up and post it. Now, one thing I'd like you all to do before we meet again is have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Harry.
Thank you
Definitely.
too.
You too.
Thank you. You have a good Thanksgiving.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Harry.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Harry.
Do the same. Enjoy.
Harry,